I don't hide my emotions. So this person noticed on my face that I didn't look pleased. And they said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Nope." They said, "You want to talk about it?" I said, "Yeah." So after months of being terrified of this person, because make no mistake, they were absolutely a bully. And there were other people that this person bullied. And I sat down, and the first thing I said was, and this is true, "You negatively impact my mental health at and outside of work." To which they said, "Well, what's your proof?"
That's an interesting response. That's a really
Mhm.
weird response. What's your proof?
Oh, very, very like sociopathic, if you ask me, but I don't want to like clinicalize this. And I just laid it out. And because that person was not willing to give me what I needed, the only other choice was to draw a boundary that I was not willing to accept that behavior anymore.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to give me what I need, but you are sure as fuck not going to abuse me this way anymore. And
Yeah.
so once I had the strength to stand up to this person, the overt abuse stopped. But some managers cannot give you and won't give you what you need because they don't even know how to do it for themselves, or there could be a
Right.
whole host of other reasons. But you are a chronologically aged adult and need to act as such.
Yeah. First, I think it's like it took so much courage and like probably a boiling point to get you to do what you did. But I
I was
also
terrified.
think
Yeah,
I probably would have been like shaking in my pants trying to do it. I know every time I
I
stood up for
was.
myself.
I
But
was. I had
let's
nightmares about this person.
yeah,
So
but let's talk about that because I feel like that's a being raised as a woman and I don't know that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe even people identify as males have a similar problem like standing up to a boss, but like I know every time I had an abusive boss where I felt like, oh, we got to be here. I
Mhm.
actually need to work through my breaks. I need to do this because that's what everyone's doing. It,
Mhm.
I don't, I remember thinking, I can't say, I don't want to do this. Or I just felt like as a woman, I had the hard time of like standing up for myself.
Uh,
Is it a gender thing or is it goes across the board?
so that's a very valid question, and the answer is kind of all of the above. So there's so many factors that go into that. So obviously there is the gender piece, and on top of that, there's also culture of origin, family of origin, religion. There are lots of things that influence
Mm,
our belief as to whether we can or should stand up for ourselves. But in, when we're talking about gender, historically, people who identify as female were taught to be more relational, to not be boundary setting, to be more flexible, to be more accommodating. What that's really code for is just people being allowed to step all over you without being sorry.
yeah.
And on top of that, what I also noticed with lots of like super boss bitches who I have like the biggest respect for is when they do put those boundaries down or they do say their opinions, they follow it with a sorry.
Yeah.
And I just did this a few days ago to a chief level person who was one of my clients. And she kept saying, da da da, sorry, da da da, sorry, da da da, sorry. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you need to stop apologizing. What do you have to apologize for?"
Mm,
And she goes, "I know it's a problem." And I was like, "I'm a recovering people pleaser.
yeah.
I know how to recognize. You got to stop saying sorry. Like
Yeah.
you've nothing to be sorry for." And so, but also there's lots of men who struggle with that too. And sometimes you can have, introversion that can also be a factor, or conflict styles that can also be a factor, depending on how your conflict relationship was with primary caregivers or past relationships. There are lots of things that can shape our self permission and how we talk about these things. But when we're talking specifically about gender, women still, in many, many circles, are taught that being clear and assertive and decisive and boundary setting makes you a bitch,
Yeah.
or makes you difficult, or whatever other ridiculous synonym. And there are some women who mask their aggression as those other things as an excuse. And we can be honest that those people exist. But generally speaking, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it's really, again, when it comes to that boundary setting and stuff like that, again, tying it back to mental health, especially as a female leader in the business, because they still get shit. It's, if they're like, well, like, can you stop being so emotional, or whatever ridiculous thing that someone would say, like, you're a leader now, you need to keep it together. Oh my God, I can't. I have 2 words, Jacinda Ardern. That's it. I have nothing else to say. Like, she's the best.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, talking about and managing my mental health is a healthy adult practice and something good that a leader can and should do, regardless of gender.